because the term London look is literally coined, right? But actually London is the most beautiful mixture of culture and creativity and individuality, and it means something different to literally.
You are listening to the FCI London podcast, featuring some of London's most influential designers. If you are new to or don't know much about interior design, but you really feel like your house needs some help in a big or a small way, this podcast is for you. I am your host, Liezel Britz, and today I am speaking to the renowned interior designer, Codi Rodriguez. She is the founder and director of the Code Design Studio, based in Surrey. Codi is known for creating personalized spaces that truly reflect the client's identity. No trends, just thoughtful, tailored design. Her collaborative approach ensures that clients' visions are translated into cohesive, functional spaces that enhance their daily lives. She has received recognition for her work on many fronts, including Best of House 2023 to 2025 for client satisfaction, and she is the Women's Business Award winner of 2023. Codi, welcome. We are delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's really nice to be here.
Well, let's start talking a bit about the designer behind the Code Design Studio. Your projects are built around a client's identity, not your own.
I mean, no, because essentially designers are always to a degree designing for applause anyway, aren't we? That's kind of the point. You design for recognition and client satisfaction and as a personal outreach of who you are as well as your client, right? So I think that generally authenticity is what makes this industry and most creative industries so unique and celebrated.
I totally understand that. So there is a measure of both that you need in the industry anyway. So that totally makes sense. Well, I understand that you reject trend-led design entirely. In a city like London, where social class and taste are deeply intertwined, do you ever feel pressure to design in a way that fits a specific London look?
I suppose it's such an interesting question, isn't it? Because the term London look is literally coined, right? But actually, London is the most beautiful mixture of culture and creativity and individuality. And it means something different to literally everybody. In a city that really geographically isn't that big, we have so many different types of people. And therefore, their homes are a totally different representation of who they are versus the next person. So I think, as an interior designer, it's important to always make sure that you are following trends. And we all love the new beautiful things. Of course we do. But I think that the London look means something totally different to everyone. And it's amazing, when you're designing for one person, you have a totally different set of eyes than when you're designing for the next person. You notice things that you wouldn't have noticed before. It's literally like having a different brain every time, which is what makes it so fun. So no, I don't necessarily think there is pressure to create a certain London look because there are so many and they are all amazing, in their own way.
Each of them unique in their own way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what makes a city so amazing. That's why people come here from all over the world, because there is so much for everybody to have.
Yeah, and every person has sort of a space to be their own individual selves, in a sense.
Yeah, I think it's really inclusive. It really is. Yeah, there is a space for everybody. So emulating that in their homes is really fun.
Yeah. Well, you've created a studio that prioritizes emotional intelligence as much as aesthetics. Do you think emotional intelligence will become the new competitive advantage in luxury interiors?
Yeah, definitely. I think emotional intelligence is key because you have to be able to fully decipher who your client is, what makes them tick. You basically have to understand them better than they understand themselves, right? Because it's our jobs to push their creative boundaries and show them what they never knew they wanted. Otherwise, it's going to be the same gray, beige interior everywhere. So the emotional intelligence to really level with your clients, to really get to know them personally, because ultimately interior design is actually a really invasive process. I spend a lot of time in people's homes. I spend a lot of time in people's inboxes. I get really up close and personal with their finances. It really is invasive. So but it's brilliant for that reason. I have amazing relationships personally with all of my clients. So I think having the emotional intelligence to really understand them is a huge competitive edge. I think without it, you probably won't ever have the real dialogue and the ability to kind of get to the nitty gritty of who they are, therefore never be able to create a hugely successful personalized space for them.
Yeah, and of course you want to be successful in what they say. And as we spoke earlier about, technically the applause needs to come from them. You want them to be able to say they're happy with
Totally.
what you did for them, because it is to design their own space, right?
Yeah. And there's literally nothing better than sitting back going, okay, I've totally just nailed that. And then you can give yourself the applause too. That's so satisfying. And that only comes with the emotional intelligence to really understand your client, definitely.
That makes total sense. Well, let's move into talking a bit about design philosophy, taste, the real realities of client behavior, if you will.
Mhm.
Well, designing a home requires interpreting someone's identity, sort of like we just said now. Have you ever felt a client was more interested in designing the person they want to be rather than the person that they actually are? Or is there a sort of a mix between the two?
Suppose it's kind of like that saying, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. I think to a degree, we're kind of all designing for the person we want to be. We would love to live in a really super grand home where I just wear tracksuit pants all the time and, never wear anything really fancy that accommodates that design. I think to a degree, we're all kind of just designing for the inner wow person in us. But do we ever really fit that mold? Maybe not. So yes and no, but there's nothing wrong with it. I'm keen.
So it's part of the process, technically, yeah.
If you want a home that looks like the Bridgertons live in it, and then you want to wear nothing but a dressing gown, I'm here for it. Done.
It's your own prerogative.
Totally.
Well, London interiors now borrow heavily, I understand, from places like Scandinavia, Japan, and Italy. Do you think British interiors are losing their own cultural identity, or, as you said earlier, is it encapsulated by all of these different places?
I don't think that British identity is going anywhere. No, I think we are so fortunate to live in a country where people like the Victorians existed. The Victorians were so clever with their design and symbolism and how thoughtful their interiors and their structures were. And people are putting so much effort at the moment into restoring Victorian, Georgian, Edwardian properties as they should. So often, you go into these amazing mansions and barns that have been completely modernized. All the beautiful fireplaces are pulled out for really horrible gas holes in the wall, and the corbels are missing, and the gargoyles are gone. And, it's awful. So I think at the moment, actually, it's really on trend and really forward thinking and designed to make sure that those characteristics are actually upheld and restored in places where they've been stripped. We're really fortunate to have conservation areas where you actually can't get rid of stuff like that. But then, there's a lot of areas where you can without planning permission and what have you. So, no, I think we're so lucky to have the world at our disposal these days with the internet, and we can incorporate inspiration from other cultures and design trends and what have you. But I think British design is here to stay, as it should be.
Well, just a typical random question, maybe. If you removed the furniture of every home you design, would you say there would be a single design choice that would still say, this was designed by Codi?
Boldness, probably. Like my mind immediately goes to wallpaper. I love bold wallpaper. It's such a fun, easy way to just inject a huge amount of personality into a space. And it's not like a huge commitment because it's something you can easily change as well. So, I love good wallpaper. Something colorful.
Bold wallpaper, you say?
Yeah. I think just the boldness. I love combining textures and clashes of things that, potentially don't work together, but then they do. It's like an unexpected surprise that it all works together. So many times people that work on my projects will go, Cody, are you sure about this? And I'll be like, just wait. And then at the end they stand back and go, oh my God, wow. And that's before the furniture is in. So that would be it.
Awesome. I've actually seen one of your pictures on your Instagram page where you had a bit of a floral pattern in a room with different colors. I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about. I was really impressed by how you used the florals. It really came across as calm and inviting to be in the space.
Yeah, it really is. That is my favorite project of the year, actually, and has now been internationally recognized and been shortlisted for an award next year. So obviously the world agrees, which is great. Yeah, I think that wallpaper really steals the show. It's a House of Hackney one, and it's incredible.
Of course, there are also some more uncomfortable interior design debates that people prefer not to talk about. So, a few questions about that. If you could ban one popular design rule that UK homeowners believe in religiously, what would you say is that?
I think oftentimes homeowners and clients get into their heads about things being really cohesive, and cohesion is can be applicable in so many different ways. So they get really stuck on not being too different in one room to the next because they want the whole house to be cohesive. But for me, I think the best way to maintain cohesion through a property is to choose a color palette of, say, 6 colors and then use them in different ways throughout the home. And I so often have to just remind clients that actually there are no rules, and that's the beautiful thing about design. What works for somebody doesn't work for the next person, but as long as it works for you, that's all that matters. And there literally are no rules. There are some rules, but I take care of those. There are some
That's why
specific
you're
rules.
there, you to cover them.
Yeah, exactly. But aesthetically, there are no rules. The world is our oyster. We can make it as crazy, as fun, as loud as we want, and I'll help to refine it and tailor it so that it looks really good. But getting so stuck on cohesion to the point of hindering what could be a really epic home, it sometimes it's a conversation I enjoy having.
Yeah, which is, and would you say it's a good thing to then have them move from it? Do you think they will be able to move from it, or is it sometimes difficult to let go of that thought for some clients?
No, I think with the right support, they're happy to. I think, quite often, like I said, people just get really into their own heads. They get the tunnel vision that they can't think too far outside the box because then it's going to be too crazy. And people obviously always have resale on the back of their minds. But, in actual fact, there are ways to, like I say, have cohesion through the home, but still be able to have colorful, beautiful homes that break the beige mold. So yeah, the stress of things not being cohesive and therefore needing to keep everything neutral is definitely where I would say stop.
What would you say is the biggest misconception people have about designers who focus on timeless interiors?
I think timelessness can sometimes verge on uninspiring. I think it's really great to have a sort of canvas that you can then do loads with. So like, I'm all for a neutral wall, because then essentially it's gallery style. You then have the opportunity to just showcase loads of really cool things inside it. That said, I'm really happy with, black walls and ceiling. So it just totally depends on the space you're designing. But timelessness, I think, sometimes does verge on lack of energy, lack of inspiration, stuff like that. It can err on playing too safe. I think you can make timeless choices whilst also being fun.
And I can imagine that's where your skill then comes in, to be able to find that balance between what will last for many years, but also to find something that really makes the space unique.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And like I consider myself a transitional designer. So I mix loads of different eras. Like, in my office right now, I'm sitting at a G plan teak desk, but I have a vintage French marble and brass side table directly opposite me, and then Moroccan Zalik tiles and a French mirror. You just think kind of combining pieces that are technically timeless that don't actually go together is where you get real like visual interest and magic in a space.
Talking a bit about the furniture supply chain in the UK, I know it has seen some delays and material shortages, some price hikes. Do you think this has changed how clients behave in terms of that they might be a bit more impatient or suspicious or even more demanding?
Yes and no. I mean, ultimately, I think this comes back to, having a really good relationship with your clients. Ultimately, if they fully understand that you have no control over these things, it's not going to put any strain on the client relationship. Not to the point of it really being super stressful. Of course, there's going to be strain. I'm stressed, you're stressed. Ultimately, there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to press forward. That's the only option. I think that, at the moment, people are really value conscious and therefore when they don't feel that their money's being prioritized in the right way, with big delays and price hikes and all of that, it can be a difficult conversation to have. But coming back to having a really good relationship with clients, it's nothing that can't be managed.
And I guess that's also where what we spoke about earlier, a bit of the emotional intelligence comes in, to be able to know how to communicate that to your client without them being upset, and to be able to manage that relationship still.
Definitely. I think a really good way to manage it is to be really solution focused. Therefore, of course, we're always going to be presented with problems. It's part of the industry. There are problems everywhere, especially in these old houses. You never know what you're going to find behind any wall or underneath any floorboard. You just have to figure out a solution and move forward. So, being solution focused, bringing a problem to the table, but also offering a solution to help balance the stress is a really useful way to deal with that. So, and transparency is just key.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, so a bit of a fun element. This section is rapid fire one word answers. I'm going to say one line, and then you just say the first thing that comes to mind. And maybe afterwards, if we want to chat a bit about it, you're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, so heading off with one. A design trend that you would erase from the UK forever.
Gloss kitchens.
Kitchens. Color British homes desperately overuse.
Grey.
A room you secretly think people design badly most often.
Bathrooms.
A material you avoid at all costs.
Crushed velvet.
And last one. The first word you think of when you hear AI interiors.
How?
Well, you're welcome to elaborate on that last one if you want.
I guess it just blows my mind. I think I still am really dinosaur-y in my process. My process is really intimate. It's really personal. I don't use AI at all. I put in all the legwork, and I know, at some point I'll have to conform. For now, I'm really happy not. So it just blows my mind that you can chat GBT, ask them for a specific detailed picture of a room, and it just is created looking pretty realistic. It blows my mind. It's how? I don't get it.
Well, talking about AI, I have a picture that I quickly want to show you. If you don't mind just giving me half a second to quickly get it here on the screen share.
Sure.
Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
So, this picture is AI generated. So if I asked you now, what is the first thing that you look for when you see a picture that is AI generated? What would you say is the first thing that you look for? Maybe the beauty or the mistakes?
I suppose more the beauty. I mean, you can see immediately that it is AI. And I use really photorealistic renders when I'm showcasing a design to a client. So I guess that's the difference. But I can really appreciate the amount of detail that's in it, given it wasn't actually created by a human being. I think it is really impressive. It takes hours to put that together all by hand, in software, because you've got to input every vase onto each shelf and, import all of the exact materials and draw in the little coffered ceiling and, measure out all of the spaces for the panels going up there and stuff. So I can really appreciate the fact that that's been created in a matter of seconds when it would take me hours.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And talking about AI, is there a part of the design process, or rather, let me say it like this. If you move into using AI maybe later, which part of the design process would you never allow AI to touch?
Oh, I mean, my immediate reaction is all of it, right? So I don't know. Yeah, just I suppose because for now my studio it's just me. It's really small. It's really intimate. I I cherish the intimacy of it. I suppose it's part of what makes me love my job so much. And I can't imagine ever turning that over to AI, but I appreciate that there will come a time where I'm going to have to. That said, I don't know what part I would not hand over, not having been in the situation.
And especially if it's really important to you to be interested in even the smallest details of your work, then I can imagine it must be difficult to just say, no, I'll hand it over. I don't have to worry about that part.
Yeah. I quite happily
So
hand it over to
that
another
really makes
human. But handing it over to a computer
yeah.
feels weird. It feels really impersonal, I suppose.
Mm. And that's maybe what I think will still keep designers in work much into the future is the fact that there's that human interaction that you just can't get from a computer.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, actually, because there are so many people that basically need the professional hand holding. I say that all the time to my clients. So, you're essentially paying me to just hold your hand and lead you along the right path to good decisions. So yeah, I think that is a quality that people won't want to let go of with computer based design.
Well, let's talk a bit about global shifts and economy, the future of luxury interiors in essence. Do you think that British clients are becoming more value driven or maybe more indulgent in their design choices given the current economic climate?
Well, I suppose I just really lightly touched on it earlier. I think they're becoming really value conscious. I think that there's huge pressures with mortgages and, the rates rising and with the cost of living and energy and, all of that. I think it has really made people a lot more value conscious. I think that it's made it more difficult to make decisions and commit to things. There's a lot more scrutiny on budgets now, which obviously is absolutely fine. I think that there's a real focus on committing to things that have longevity, of course. But in turn, that's been really nice because there's a huge revival in the British market, not having to rely on global trends and stuff and getting things in from other countries, and because that is coming with huge price hikes, with delays, with things getting stuck in customs for ages, that has made things really difficult. So I think it's really nice that there's been a British revival of, you know trusting in local trade and craftsmanship. So I suppose that's a positive.
And would you say that type of culture, if I can say it like that, is more sustainable, is heading into a more sustainable place?
I think we're in transition, even with things like building regs and EPC ratings, that stuff has kind of really hammered down on toxicity in materials and what have you. And that's I think where the market can really focus on sustainability right now, because ultimately sustainability is brilliant, but quite often comes with a price tag. So for the clients that don't have the flexibility in budget to be really sustainable, that fast trend design is always going to have to be there, you know? I think so. I think we're in transition. I don't think we're all the way there. I don't know if we ever will be for that reason, but there are definitely some really positive things happening.
At least on the way at this stage.
Yeah, I think, well, we have to be. We have to be. Look, it's December and it's like 15 degrees. There's obviously something happening climate wise.
Great. Well, I just have about two more questions before I let you go. So for our last segment, I just want to dive into a bit of industry ethics and boundaries and the designer's role for today. Do you think designers should be more vocal about saying no to unrealistic budgets and timelines up until the point, even if it does mean losing the project? Hopefully it does not, but do you think they should be a bit more vocal about saying no to things like that?
Yes, absolutely. Because ultimately, if you don't say no from the start, you're probably going to lose the project because of the strain on the client relationship, because you're unable to deliver what they want with the budget they have and on the timeline they've expected and or. So yes, I think, and that obviously just comes with experience. Knowing from the outset whether a budget is realistic or not, that comes with experience. You just kind of have to figure that out along the way. But yes, because ultimately saying yes to a project that you can't deliver, whether it's budget or timeline or both, it's going to cause you such immense stress. It's going to put huge strain on a relationship between you and a client. And ultimately, like I said, it's probably going to result in you losing the project anyway. So save yourself the long term stress and lose the project at the start. But ultimately, if a client really wants something done, they'll appreciate the honesty in you saying, listen, I can't make this happen in this time or for this money. If they really want it done, they'll find the money, they'll extend the timeline. Everybody's happy.
So to be transparent is actually part of the professionalism of it, right?
I mean, without it, you have no future in any industry, right? In any industry, but especially something as intimate as this. Yeah.
Yeah, moving into someone's home and stuff like that, they really need to be able to know that they can trust you also. So that might also be like a good thing in a sense, to be able to show them that they really can trust you and that you can
Yeah.
deliver on what you say.
Yeah, honesty from the outset is everything. And like I said, if that still ends in you losing the project, it's not a project you wanted anyway, because it wouldn't have ended well. So the honesty has to be there, and the clients will appreciate it and either figure out a way to move forward or compromise on spec or whatever to make it happen. But either way, what will be for a good reason.
Yeah. And when you think of a luxury furniture destination like FCI London, what do you believe a showroom of the future should offer designers, genuinely supporting creativity, sourcing, and client experience?
I think a showroom obviously needs to have a materials library, an extensive materials library, so that you can take your clients to not only see fabrics, woods, metals, what have you, different leg options, whether it's a caster or a bobbin or whatever, but so they can also kind of feel the materials. There needs to be a really good amount of styles and models on display. But also, I think what would be so useful is to have the software or the intelligence to basically create your combination of materials and style, in a program of sorts on the spot so that they can see exactly what it will look like. Some companies do offer that on their websites now, but I think being able to do that in the showroom would be really, really useful.
Yeah, so then you can take your client there and you can sort of show them everything that you need to show them in one place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, ultimately, interior design is broadly just a service to help clients feel really comfortable in committing to spending loads of money, So being able to show them what their space is going to look like, helping them visualize everything so that they can tweak and say, oh, I'm actually maybe not that sure about that wallpaper, or would you mind showing me another fabric and stuff? We show them in detail what they're committing to so that they go, yeah, fine, really happy, let's go ahead. They don't feel overwhelmed by the prospect of spending a bunch of money and making the wrong choice. So having a space to take clients to do that as well with exact models, exact everything is really useful and then gives them peace of mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine it helps them visualize it better because you're good at visualizing, but maybe clients sometimes struggle with that.
Always, yeah. That's why they hire us, yeah.
Yes. Okay, it was so nice to chat with you. Thank you so much for your time. Maybe just for our listeners, where can we find you on social media or contact you? Maybe just give us a Instagram handle or a place where we can check out your future work as well.
Yeah, of course. It's just at the Code Design Studio on Instagram, and website is thecodedesignstudio.com. So yeah, really easy. And we're also on House.
Thank you for your time, Cody. It was so nice to meet you and to have this amazing chat with you. And I wish you all the best for the future. And we're looking forward to see where your wonderful career is going to go.
Thank you, Liezel. So nice to meet you as well. Thank you for having me.